What are they asking about? This is the opening question of Surah An-Naba. A question that echoes through time from the streets of ancient Makkah to our modern world today. In every generation, people ask the same fundamental questions: what happens after death? Is there really accountability for our actions? What is this great news that changes everything? Imagine walking through the bustling marketplace of 7th century Makkah. Merchants haggle over prices, children play in the dusty streets, and groups of people gather in heated discussions. But there's something different in the air. Take a moment to slow down, breathe, and join this peaceful study of Allah's words. If you find comfort here, please like, subscribe, and share so more hearts can pause and reflect with us. A new message is spreading, carried by a man they call Muhammad, peace be upon him. Some dismiss it entirely, others are curious, and many are asking questions with a mixture of skepticism and concern. What are they asking one another about? The Qur'an begins, as if Allah Himself is observing these very conversations, these very doubts that occupy human hearts across all times and places. This is not just about ancient Arabia, this is about the eternal human condition, our universal need to understand our purpose and destiny. Today, as we embark on this contemplative journey through Surah An-Naba, we join this timeless conversation. Whether you're a lifelong Muslim seeking deeper understanding, someone exploring Islamic teachings, or simply a soul searching for meaning, this surah speaks directly to the questions that keep us awake at night and the hopes that drive us forward each day. The great news: An-Naba al-Azim isn't just information to be processed intellectually, it's a transformative reality that, once truly understood, changes how we see everything: our daily struggles, our relationships, our fears, and our ultimate purpose. Let us discover together what this great news is and why it remains as relevant today as it was 1,400 years ago. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Take a moment to center yourself. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so, or simply let your gaze soften. Feel your body settling into this present moment. Notice your breath, this gift of life that flows through you without your conscious effort, a constant reminder of Allah's sustenance. Let the worries of your day begin to fade into the background. The emails that need answering, the tasks on your to-do list, the conversations that occupy your mind, set them gently aside for now. This is sacred time, a time for your soul to connect with divine wisdom that has guided millions of hearts before yours. Take 3 deep, mindful breaths. With each inhale, invite presence and openness. With each exhale, release any tension or distraction. Feel yourself becoming more receptive to the profound truths we're about to explore together. In Islamic tradition, we begin all meaningful endeavors by seeking Allah's blessing and guidance. So let us start with the intention, the niyyah, that this study will not merely inform our minds but transform our hearts. We seek knowledge that brings us closer to Allah, wisdom that illuminates our path, and understanding that deepens our faith and strengthens our character. Audu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge in Allah from Satan, the accursed one. Now, let your heart become like fertile soil, ready to receive the seeds of divine guidance that we're about to plant together through our study of Surah An-Naba. As we prepare to enter the world of this remarkable surah, remember that the Qur'an is not just a book to be read. It is a living guidance meant to be lived. Each verse we encounter today is an invitation to reflection, a doorway to deeper understanding, and a bridge connecting our temporary earthly existence to eternal truths. The companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to say that they would not move beyond 10 verses of the Qur'an until they had understood their meaning and implemented their guidance in their lives. Today, we follow in their footsteps, approaching these sacred words not as passive observers, but as active participants in a conversation that spans centuries. Let us open our hearts to receive the great news that Surah An-Naba brings, news that has the power to transform doubt into certainty, anxiety into peace, and purposelessness into profound meaning. This is not just ancient wisdom, this is guidance for your life, your struggles, your hopes, and your journey back to Allah. May Allah bless our study together, grant us sincere hearts, and make this time a source of blessing, guidance, and spiritual growth for each of us. May what we learn today become a light that illuminates our path and draws us ever closer to our Creator. Amen. Surah An-Naba, meaning the great news or the tidings, stands as the 78th chapter of the noble Qur'an, comprising 40 verses of profound wisdom and compelling imagery. The name itself comes from the second verse, where Allah speaks of An-Naba al-Azim, the great news that the people of Mecca were questioning and disputing among themselves. This surah was revealed during the early Meccan period, when the Muslim community was still small and faced constant opposition from the Quraysh tribe. Picture the social dynamics of that time. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had been calling people to Islam for several years, and his message was creating deep divisions within Arabian society. The concept of resurrection after death, accountability for one's actions, and the Day of Judgment were revolutionary ideas that challenged the materialistic worldview of many Arabs. The Quraysh, who held economic and social power in Mecca, found these teachings particularly threatening. They were accustomed to a life where this world was all that mattered, where wealth, status, and tribal honor were the ultimate measures of success. The idea that they would be held accountable by Allah for how they treated the poor, the orphans, and the marginalized was deeply unsettling to their way of life. When we understand this historical context, the opening verses take on deeper meaning. What are they asking about? About the great news about which they are in disagreement. These weren't casual philosophical discussions in coffee shops. These were heated debates about fundamental questions of existence that threatened to overturn the entire social order. The great news that caused such controversy was multifaceted. Primarily it referred to the resurrection and the Day of Judgment, the teaching that after death, all human beings would be raised again and held accountable for their earthly actions. But it also encompassed the entire message of Islam, the oneness of Allah, Tawheed, the prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the guidance of the Qur'an itself. For the early Muslims, this surah served as both validation and comfort. They were often ridiculed for their beliefs, mocked for following a message that promised justice in an afterlife they couldn't see. The opening verses acknowledge that yes, people are indeed questioning and arguing about these fundamental truths, but Allah assures the believers that those who deny these truths will come to know. They will eventually face the reality they're currently rejecting. Surah An-Naba holds a unique position in the Qur'an's structure as well. It begins the final section of the Qur'an, known as Al-Mufassal, the detailed or distinctly divided chapters. These shorter surahs are characterized by their powerful imagery, rhythmic verses, and focus on fundamental Islamic beliefs. They were among the first portions of the Qur'an that new Muslims would memorize and recite in their prayers. The surah's placement is also significant in the context of Islamic worship. As one of the shorter chapters, it's frequently recited in daily prayers, making its message a regular part of a Muslim's spiritual life. Every time a Muslim recites these verses in prayer, they're reminded of the great news that transformed human history and continues to transform individual lives today. What makes this revelation particularly remarkable is its universal relevance. While it was revealed to address specific concerns of 7th century Arabian society, its message speaks to timeless human struggles. In every era, people grapple with questions of meaning, purpose, mortality, and justice. The materialism that characterized pre-Islamic Arabian society mirrors the consumer culture of our modern world. The denial of accountability that Allah addresses in this surah resonates with contemporary tendencies to avoid moral responsibility. The surah also represents Allah's mercy in how He addresses human doubt. Rather than condemning those who question, Allah begins by acknowledging their questions, and then systematically provides evidence for the truths they're disputing. This approach reflects the Quranic method of engaging with skepticism through reason, evidence, and compelling arguments rather than mere assertions. For contemporary readers, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, Surah An-Naba offers a window into understanding how divine revelation addresses human concerns. It demonstrates how the Quran speaks to both immediate historical circumstances and eternal human needs, weaving together comfort for believers, challenge for skeptics, and guidance for all who seek truth. Surah An-Naba weaves together several profound themes that speak to the deepest concerns of human existence. Understanding these themes before we dive into the verses themselves helps us appreciate the surah's masterful construction and timeless relevance. The nature of divine truth and human questioning. The surah opens by acknowledging a fundamental aspect of human nature. We question, we doubt, we seek answers to life's biggest mysteries. Rather than dismissing these questions as signs of weakness or disbelief, Allah addresses them head-on. This theme runs throughout the surah amidst the recognition that questioning is natural, but that ultimate truth exists beyond human speculation. The repeated phrase, "Nay, they will come to know," serves as both a warning and a promise that reality will eventually become clear to all. Evidence of Allah's creative power. One of the most beautiful aspects of this surah is how it transforms everyday observations into profound spiritual reflections. Allah draws our attention to the earth beneath our feet, the mountains that pierce the sky, the rhythm of day and night, and the miracle of rain bringing life to barren land. These aren't just poetic descriptions, they're invitations to see the divine signature in creation itself. Every sunrise becomes a reminder of Allah's consistency, every mountain a testament to His strength, every drop of rain a sign of His mercy. This theme speaks powerfully to our modern world, where scientific discovery continues to reveal the intricate complexity and perfect balance of natural systems. The surah suggests that those who observe creation with open hearts will find in it clear evidence of a wise, powerful Creator. The reality of resurrection and accountability. The central great news of the surah is the certainty of resurrection and the day of judgment. This isn't presented as a distant abstract concept, but as the most important reality that should shape how we live today. The surah describes the day of decision as a fixed time, appointed, certain, and unavoidable. This theme addresses one of humanity's deepest anxieties, the question of whether our actions ultimately matter, whether justice will prevail, and whether this life has meaning beyond its temporary pleasures and pains. The detailed descriptions of that day serve multiple purposes. They comfort those who suffer injustice in this world, warn those who oppress others, and remind everyone that our earthly life is a test with real consequences. Divine justice and perfect recompense. Throughout the surah we see Allah's perfect justice on display. The punishment described for the transgressors is an exact recompense according to their evil crimes, while the reward for the righteous is described as an ample calculated gift according to the best of their good deeds. This theme addresses the human longing for fairness and justice, recognizing that while injustice may seem to prevail temporarily in this world, ultimate justice is guaranteed by Allah. This perfect justice isn't arbitrary or cruel. It's precisely calibrated to each person's actions and intentions. The surah suggests that Allah's justice is so perfect that even those being punished will recognize its appropriateness. The contrast between worldly life and eternal reality. The surah masterfully contrasts the temporary nature of this world with the eternal nature of the hereafter. The descriptions of paradise with its gardens, companionship, and freedom from falsehood aren't just rewards to look forward to, but invitations to reflect on what truly brings lasting happiness and fulfillment. Similarly, the descriptions of punishment serve as warnings about the ultimate consequences of prioritizing temporary pleasures over eternal values. This theme challenges contemporary culture's focus on immediate gratification and material success. Allah's sovereignty and majesty. The final verses emphasize Allah's absolute authority and majesty. The image of angels standing in rows silent except for those given permission to speak creates a powerful sense of divine order and reverence. This theme reminds us of our proper relationship with Allah not as equals or partners, but as created beings who find their highest dignity in acknowledging and submitting to their Creator. The urgency of choice underlying all these themes is an urgent call to decision. The surah doesn't present these truths as interesting philosophical concepts to debate, but as realities that demand a response. The repeated emphasis on the certainty of the Day of Judgment, combined with the invitation to seek a place with your Lord, creates a sense of urgency about the choices we make in this life. Connection to human experience. What makes these themes particularly powerful is how they connect to universal human experiences. Everyone has questioned their purpose, marveled at natural beauty, longed for justice, feared death, or wondered if their life matters. The surah takes these common human experiences and reveals their deeper spiritual significance, showing how they point toward eternal truths about our relationship with Allah and our ultimate destiny. These themes work together to create a comprehensive worldview that addresses both intellectual questions and emotional needs, offering both comfort and challenge, hope and warning, guidance and accountability. Let us now turn to the heart of our study, the beautiful Arabic verses of Surah An-Naba, as they were revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Qur'an was revealed in Arabic not merely as a linguistic choice, but because this language carries within it layers of meaning, rhythm, and spiritual resonance that transport the listener beyond mere words into direct communion with divine guidance. As we listen to these verses, remember that you are hearing the same words that brought comfort to the early Muslim community in their darkest hours, the same sounds that echoed through the hills of Mecca as they were first revealed, and the same divine speech that has guided millions of souls across 14 centuries. Emyatas Olun and An-Naba, il-Azam. Allah di hum fuhi muktalefun kala sasyalam, thumma kala sasyalam, thumma kala sasyalam. Feel the power in these opening verses. The questioning tone of Emyatas Olun, what are they asking about? Followed by the emphatic declaration Kala sasyalam, nay they will come to know. There's a rhythm here that builds anticipation, a cadence that mirrors the very human experience of doubt, followed by certainty. Ulam najal il arda mihada, Waljibala, Uldas, Olam na makam subas, Olam na, Walda Oljawla. Lolam na makam subas, Olam na, Olam na, Olam na, Olam na, Olam.
That's how the recitation flows like a gentle river, each verse building upon the last. The repeated phrase Waljawla, and we have made, creates a rhythmic pattern that emphasizes Allah's continuous acts of creation and provision. This isn't just poetry, it's a divine symphony that speaks to both mind and heart simultaneously. Walbanena folkakum saban shida, the Waljawla. Sarayan Walban Sarayan, Folkataula, Shida Dignokrija. Bihi Habban Waldi Bata, Waljana, Tin Alfafa. The sound patterns here are extraordinary. Listen to how Shida Da strong firm emphasizes the strength of the heavens, how Walba blazing captures the intensity of the sun, and how Folkataula abundant echoes the sound of pouring rain. The Arabic language itself becomes a mirror of the natural phenomena being described. Inna, Yaum al-Fali kan, Nikata, Yauma yunfaku fi, Ihi miri, Fatan malfoja, Walfutiat is Samal fakan alba, Walfutiat iljibala. Fakanat Saraba. Here the recitation takes on a more solemn, powerful tone. The day of decision, Yaum al-Fali, is announced with gravity. The sound of the trumpet, Ihi mir, seems to echo in the very pronunciation of the word. The transformation of mountains into mirage, Sarab, carries within its sound the sense of something solid becoming insubstantial. Inna, Jahannama kan mulda lulda di, lefi, 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 of, Saraba, Ihi mimman waldas kas causans for the transgressors, carry a weight in their pronunciation. Words like Murada, place of ambush, Ikaba, ages, and Gas Saka, foul discharge, create an atmosphere of gravity and warning through their very sounds.
In a lil matakana mafaza, wada ika wa anaba wa kaza, indiha kala yasma na. Fahala kawa, iba ataba wa kapuna, iba kaza, diza nan minrabika, diza the beautiful contrast. The description of paradise flows with lighter, more melodious sounds. Mafaza success salvation, wada ika gardens, anaba grapes. These words dance on the tongue, creating an auditory experience that mirrors the beauty being described. Rab is sama ti wal, wada yo, masbenal, wada yom, la, yem lilna, manyukiya maga, yem lilna, wada, yem liza, wada, yem liza, wada ti yo. Yemliza nada tiyo, Yemliza waga tiyo, Yemliza. These final verses build to a crescendo of divine majesty. The long flowing phrases mirror the vastness being described, the Lord of the heavens and earth, and all between them. The image of angels standing in rows is captured in the structured rhythm of the Arabic. Dalikala yom. Yemliza, Yem, the Arabic carrying within it the urgency of choice and the finality of consequence. Yalikalatiyo, Yem al-Kafir, Yalikalati. Would that I were dust, ends the recitation with a haunting echo of regret and loss. As the final syllables fade, Let yourself remain in the resonance of these divine words, feeling how the Arabic language itself becomes a vehicle for spiritual transformation and divine connection. Now let us journey through each verse with careful attention, allowing the meaning to unfold gradually like a flower opening to the morning sun. Each verse builds upon the previous one, creating a tapestry of divine guidance that speaks to both our minds and our hearts. Verses 1-5. The great question: what are they asking one another? About the great news, about which they are in disagreement. Nay, they will come to know. Nay, again they will come to know. Here Allah begins not with commands or proclamations, but with a question that acknowledges human curiosity and doubt. The repetition of "they will come to know" serves as both a promise and a gentle warning. There's something deeply merciful in how Allah addresses human questioning, not with anger, but with patient assurance that clarity will come. Verses 6-16. Signs in creation: have we not made the earth as a bed, and the mountains as pegs? And we have created you in pairs, and have made your sleep as a thing for rest, and have made the night as a covering through its darkness, and have made the day for livelihood. And we have built above you 7 strong heavens, and have made therein a shining lamp, and have sent down from the rainy clouds abundant water, that we may produce therewith corn and vegetations, and gardens of thick growth. These verses transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. The earth beneath our feet becomes a carefully prepared bed, suggesting both comfort and divine care in creation's design. Mountains aren't just geological features but pegs that stabilize the earth, revealing divine engineering in what we might take for granted. The mention of sleep as rest reminds us that even our unconscious hours serve a divine purpose. Night becomes not merely the absence of day but a covering, a protective garment of darkness that allows rest and renewal. Day isn't just light, but specifically designed for livelihood, showing that our ability to work and sustain ourselves is woven into creation's fabric. The 7 heavens speak to layers of reality beyond our immediate perception, while the sun is described as a shining lamp, not a distant star but illumination provided for our benefit. Rain becomes abundant divine provision, and the resulting growth of corn and vegetations, and gardens of thick growth reveals how Allah's mercy cascades from heaven to earth, to our very tables. Verses 17-20. The appointed day: verily, the day of decision is a fixed time, the day when the trumpet will be blown, and you shall come forth in crowds, and the heaven shall be opened, and it will become as gates, and the mountains shall be moved away from their places, and they will be as if they were a mirage. After grounding us in the familiar realities of creation, Allah shifts our attention to the ultimate reality, the day of decision. This isn't described as a possibility, but as a fixed time, as certain as sunrise, as inevitable as our next breath. The imagery is both majestic and humbling. The trumpet's sound will gather all humanity in crowds, no one exempt, no one forgotten. The heavens, which seem so solid and distant, will open as gates, revealing dimensions of reality normally hidden from us. Most striking is the transformation of mountains, those symbols of permanence and strength, into mere mirage. What we consider most solid and enduring will prove to be insubstantial compared to divine reality. Verses 21-30. Divine justice manifested. Truly hell is a place of ambush, a dwelling place for the transgressors. They will abide therein for ages, nothing cool shall they taste therein, nor any drink, except boiling water, and dirty wound discharges, an exact recompense according to their evil crimes. For verily they used not to look for a reckoning, but they belied our signs completely, and all things we have recorded in a book. So taste you the results of your evil actions. No increase shall we give you, except in torment. These verses present divine justice with unflinching clarity. Hell is described as a place of ambush, suggesting that those who ignore divine guidance are walking into a trap of their own making. The punishment isn't arbitrary cruelty, but exact recompense, perfect justice calibrated to each person's choices. The phrase they use, not to look for a reckoning, reveals the root problem, not ignorance, but willful denial of accountability. They belied our signs completely, not partially or hesitantly, but with total rejection of divine guidance. The recording of all things in a book speaks to perfect divine knowledge and justice. Nothing is forgotten, nothing overlooked. The final warning, no increase shall we give you except in torment, emphasizes that divine justice once enacted is final and complete. Verses 31, 36, the reward of the righteous, verily for the righteous there will be success. Gardens and grapeyards, and young full-breasted maidens of equal age, and a full cup. No evil talk shall they hear therein, nor lying. A reward from your Lord, an ample calculated gift according to the best of their good deeds. The contrast is immediate and striking. Where punishment was described in terms of deprivation and suffering, reward is described in terms of abundance and joy. The word success, mafal, suggests not just happiness, but achievement of life's ultimate goal. The descriptions appeal to multiple senses: visual beauty in gardens, taste in grapes and full cups, companionship with maidens of equal age. But perhaps most beautiful is the promise of an environment free from evil talk and lying, a realm where communication itself is purified. The final phrase reveals divine generosity. This isn't mere payment for good deeds, but ample calculated gift according to the best of their good deeds. Allah rewards not just adequately, but abundantly, focusing on our best moments rather than our failures. Verses 37, 40, divine majesty and final choice, from the Lord of the heavens and the earth, and whatsoever is in between them, the most beneficent. None can dare to speak with him on the day of resurrection, except after his leave, the day that the Spirit and the angels will stand forth in rows. None shall speak except him whom the most beneficent allows, and he will speak what is right. That is without doubt the true day. So whosoever wills, let him seek a place with his Lord by obeying him in this worldly life. Verily we have warned you of a near torment, the day when man will see that which his hands have sent forth, and the disbeliever will say, Woe to me, would that I were dust. These final verses paint a scene of absolute divine sovereignty. The Lord of the heavens and the earth, and whatsoever is in between them, encompasses all existence. Nothing exists outside Allah's dominion. Yet he is also the most beneficent, power combined with infinite mercy. The image of angels and spirits standing in rows creates a sense of perfect divine order, where even the most exalted beings await permission to speak. This isn't tyranny, but appropriate recognition of divine majesty and the proper relationship between Creator and creation. The phrase, "He will speak what is right," suggests that on that day only truth will be spoken. No deception, no spin, no manipulation of facts. Reality will be clear and undeniable. The surah concludes with both invitation and warning. Whosoever wills, let him seek a place with his Lord. The choice is ours. The door is open. But the warning is equally clear. we will see that which our hands have sent forth. Our actions will be made manifest with perfect clarity. The final cry, "Would that I were dust," represents the ultimate expression of regret, the wish to have never existed rather than face the consequences of a life lived in rebellion against divine guidance. The Arabic of Surah An-Naba contains linguistic treasures that reveal deeper layers of meaning often lost in translation. Let us explore some of these precious gems that illuminate the surah's profound wisdom. An-Naba, the news tidings. The word Naba comes from the root nba, which means to inform or give news. But this isn't ordinary news. The Qur'an calls it An-Naba al-Azim, An-Naba al-Azim, the great or momentous news. The word azim suggests something that inspires awe, something so significant it changes everything. In Arabic, Naba often carries connotations of news that is both important and reliable. Not gossip or speculation but weighty information that demands attention. Mihadan mihades. As a bed, when Allah describes making the earth mihades, He uses a word that suggests not just flatness but preparation and care. The root mhd gives us the concept of smoothing, preparing, making ready. It's the same root used for a cradle, mihades, suggesting that the earth has been lovingly prepared as a place of nurture and growth for humanity. This isn't random geological formation, but deliberate divine hospitality. Otadan. As pegs, mountains described as oted pegs or stakes reveals sophisticated understanding of geological function. In Arabic, woted specifically refers to tent pegs, those crucial anchoring points that provide stability in shifting conditions. Modern geology confirms that mountain ranges do indeed provide stability to continental plates, acting much like tent pegs securing the Earth's surface. The Quran's choice of this precise metaphor reveals divine knowledge of geological realities, unknown to 7th century Arabia. Subatan rest sleep described as subat carries meanings beyond simple rest. The root sbt suggests cutting off or cessation, but in a beneficial way. It's related to the concept of Sabbath, a purposeful pause that serves a higher purpose. Sleep isn't just the absence of wakefulness, but a divinely designed state that serves specific functions for human well-being. Libasan clothing, covering night, described as libas clothing, creates a beautiful image of darkness as divine garment that covers and protects. In Arabic culture, clothing serves multiple purposes: protection, modesty, beauty, and identity. Night as libas suggests that darkness isn't emptiness, but active divine provision that shelters, comforts, and restores. Mahashan livelihood day described as mahash comes from the root aish, meaning to live or sustain life. It's not just illumination, but the conditions that make life possible. The word encompasses all the activities, opportunities, and provisions that sustain human existence. Day becomes not just light, but the divine arrangement that enables human flourishing. Thajajan abundant, pouring. This word describing rain is onomatopoetic mehash. Its sound mimics what it describes. Thajaj captures both the abundance and the sound of heavy rainfall. In Arabic poetry and rhetoric, such words create sensory experiences through language itself. When you hear Thajaj, you almost hear the rain pouring down. Mahajan, place of ambush held, described as mirsad, comes from the root artul, meaning to watch, observe, or lie in wait. It suggests that hell isn't a punishment imposed from outside, but rather the natural consequence of choices that lead one into a trap. Those who reject divine guidance aren't arbitrarily punished, but walk into consequences that were predictable and avoidable. Wifaqan fitting appropriate. The punishment described as wifaq suggests perfect correspondence between action and consequence. The root ul ulf q means to agree, match, or be in harmony with. Divine justice isn't arbitrary, but perfectly calibrated. Each person receives exactly what their choices have earned. Wisaban, calculated. The reward for the righteous described as hisab comes from the root ulf qs, meaning to calculate or compute. But this isn't cold mathematics. It's precise divine generosity that takes into account every good deed, every intention, every struggle. Allah's calculation ensures that no good is overlooked, no effort unappreciated. Dalika ul yam ulf q. That is the true day. The final description of the Day of Judgment as ul yam ulf q, the true day, suggests that this day reveals ultimate reality. Haq means truth, reality, what is genuine and authentic. In contrast to the temporary, often deceptive nature of worldly life, that day will reveal what is eternally real and significant. The classical and contemporary scholars of Islam have provided profound insights into Surah An-Naba that illuminate layers of meaning often hidden from casual reading. Let us explore these scholarly treasures that have guided Muslim understanding for over 14 centuries. The context of revelation asbab and nuzul. According to Ibn Abbas and other early scholars, this surah was revealed in response to specific debates occurring in Makkah. The Quraysh leaders would gather and discuss the claims of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, particularly his teachings about resurrection and the afterlife. Some would mockingly ask, "What is this great news that Muhammad speaks of?" Others would argue among themselves, some dismissing it entirely, others expressing uncertainty. Imam al-Tabari relates that the phrase about which they are in disagreement specifically refers to three groups: those who completely rejected the message, those who were curious but hesitant, and the early believers who accepted it. This diversity of response continues today. Some people immediately recognize truth when they encounter it, others require time and reflection, and still others resist it entirely. The divine pedagogical method al-Razi points out the remarkable teaching method employed in this surah. Rather than beginning with abstract theological arguments, Allah starts with observable realities that every human being can verify. The earth, mountains, sleep, day and night, rain. These are universal human experiences that transcend culture, education, or social status. This approach reflects what scholars call the fitra method, meanest, appealing to the natural human disposition to recognize divine signs in creation. Ibn Taymiyyah emphasized that this methodology demonstrates how the Qur'an addresses both the learned and the unlearned, providing evidence that speaks to every level of human understanding. The precision of divine knowledge. Classical commentators marveled at the scientific accuracy embedded within the surah's descriptions. Al-Qurtubi noted that describing mountains as pegs, ultad, revealed knowledge of geological function that wouldn't be discovered by human science for over a millennium. The earth as a bed suggests not just comfort, but the precise conditions necessary for life: mesospheric pressure, gravitational pull, magnetic field protection. Contemporary Muslim scientists like Maurice Bucaille and Ahmed Deedat have expanded on these observations, noting how the Qur'an's descriptions of natural phenomena consistently align with modern scientific discoveries, while using language accessible to all generations. The Psychology of Denial. Ibn Kathir provides penetrating insights into the psychological dimensions of verses 27-29. He explains that they used not to look for a reckoning doesn't mean they were ignorant of the concept, but that they deliberately avoided considering it. This willful ignorance is a defense mechanism against truths that would require fundamental life changes. El-Ghazali, in his spiritual psychology works, explains that the human heart has an innate recognition of divine truth, but that repeated sins and worldly attachments can cloud this recognition. The belying of signs mentioned in the surah isn't intellectual inability, but spiritual blindness caused by moral choices. The mercy within justice scholars have long noted the careful balance between warning and hope throughout the surah. El-Baydawi points out that even when describing hell, Allah emphasizes that it's an exact recompense, not excessive or arbitrary punishment, but precise justice. This serves both as warning and as comfort to those who fear they might be punished beyond what they deserve. Conversely, the description of paradise as an ample calculated gift according to the best of their good deeds reveals divine generosity that exceeds strict justice. El-Tabari explains that Allah judges based on our best moments rather than our worst, and multiplies rewards while precisely calibrating punishments. The significance of divine permission to speak. The verses describing the day of judgment where none shall speak except him whom the most beneficent allows have generated extensive commentary. El-Zamakhshari explains that this isn't tyrannical silencing, but the natural result of standing in the presence of absolute divine majesty. Imam al-Ghazali draws parallels to human experience in the presence of great authority or overwhelming beauty. Speech naturally becomes limited. On the day of judgment, the sheer reality of divine presence will render most speech inappropriate or impossible. Only those given permission will speak, and they will speak what is right. Truth will be the only possible utterance. The universal call to choice. Modern commentators, like Sayyid Qutb, emphasize the democratic aspect of the surah's conclusion. Whosoever wills, let him seek a place with his Lord. This isn't predetermined fate, but genuine human choice with real consequences. The surah presents evidence, clarifies options, and then respects human freedom to choose. This interpretation challenges both fatalistic approaches that deny human responsibility and humanistic approaches that deny divine sovereignty. The balance reflects the Quranic teaching that humans are truly free to choose, but that choices have real, divinely ordained consequences. The cry of ultimate regret. The final verses, "Would that I were dust," has been interpreted by scholars as the ultimate expression of remorse. El-Tabari explains that this isn't a wish for annihilation, but recognition that non-existence would be preferable to facing the consequences of a misspent life. Ibn al-Qayyim notes that this cry reveals perfect divine justice. Even those being punished acknowledge that their situation results from their own choices. There will be no claim of unfairness, no argument about innocence. The clarity of that day will make everyone's situation transparently just. Contemporary scholar Abdul Karim Surish adds that this verse serves as a profound invitation to reflection in this life. If we might wish we had never existed when facing our choices' consequences, how should that knowledge influence how we choose to live today? Now let us pause from academic analysis and enter into the heart of spiritual contemplation. The true purpose of studying the Quran is not merely to understand it intellectually, but to allow its guidance to transform our inner landscape and illuminate our relationship with Allah, ourselves, and creation. Take a moment to sit with the opening question: what are they asking about? In your own life, What are the great questions that occupy your mind? Perhaps you find yourself wondering about your purpose, questioning whether your struggles have meaning, or seeking assurance about what lies beyond death. The Quran acknowledges that these questions are natural and universal. They've been asked by every generation of human beings. But notice how Allah doesn't dismiss the questioners or condemn their uncertainty. Instead, there's a patient promise: they will come to know. This suggests that our questioning itself may be part of our spiritual journey, and that certainty often comes not through argument, but through experience and spiritual maturation. Consider how this divine patience might inform your own approach to doubt and uncertainty. Rather than fighting against questions or feeling guilty about moments of uncertainty, you might see them as invitations to deeper seeking, opportunities for growth, and signs of an honest, searching heart. Witnessing divine care in creation. The surah invites us to see creation with new eyes, not as random matter organized by chance, but as a carefully prepared home designed by a loving creator. Right now, as you breathe, you're experiencing the bed that Allah has made of the earth, the perfect atmospheric pressure, the exact distance from the sun, the magnetic field protecting you from harmful radiation. Tonight, when you lay down to sleep, remember that Allah describes your sleep as rest, not merely the absence of wakefulness, but active divine provision for your renewal. The darkness that covers you is described as clothing, a garment of divine mercy that shelters and comforts you. Tomorrow morning, when you wake to daylight, remember that this isn't just the rotation of a planet, but divine provision for livelihood. Allah arranging the very conditions that make your work, your relationships, and your growth possible. This perspective transforms daily experience into continuous dhikr, remembrance of Allah. Every natural phenomenon becomes an ayah sign pointing to divine presence and care. The rain that nourishes crops, the mountains that stabilize continents, the rhythm of day and night that structures human life, all become prayers offered by creation itself, inviting you to join in recognition and gratitude. Contemplating accountability. The surah's emphasis on the day of decision invites deep reflection on the weight of our choices. Every decision you make, amidst how you treat others, how you spend your time, what you prioritize in your heart, is being recorded in a book. This isn't surveillance or tyranny, but the natural consequence of living in a universe where actions have meaning and moral choices carry real weight. Reflect on moments in your life when you acted with kindness, when no one was watching, when you chose integrity despite personal cost, when you restrained yourself from harm despite opportunity. These moments matter eternally. They're part of what Allah will reward with ample calculated gift according to the best of your good deeds. Similarly, contemplate moments when you chose selfishness over service, when you spoke harshly instead of kindly, when you turned away from opportunities to do good. The promise of exact recompense isn't meant to terrorize, but to emphasize that in Allah's perfect justice, nothing is overlooked, neither good nor evil. Embracing the invitation to choose, the surah concludes with both warning and invitation. Whosoever wills, let him seek a place with his Lord. This moment right now is an opportunity to respond to that invitation. What would it mean for you to seek a place with your Lord? Perhaps it means approaching your daily prayers with greater presence and sincerity. Maybe it involves examining your relationships and choosing to forgive where you've been withholding forgiveness, or to serve where you've been self-focused. It might mean making time for regular Qur'an study, or seeking out community with other believers, or committing to acts of charity that stretch your heart beyond your comfort zone. The beauty of this invitation is that it meets you exactly where you are. Whether you're a lifelong Muslim seeking to deepen your practice, or someone just beginning to explore Islamic teachings, or a person of another faith tradition finding wisdom in these verses, the door is open, the invitation is extended, the choice is yours. Finding peace in divine sovereignty. The image of angels standing in perfect rows, speaking only when permitted, might initially seem intimidating. But reflect more deeply. This represents ultimate order, perfect harmony, complete peace. In our world of chaos, conflict and confusion, there's profound comfort in knowing that ultimate reality is characterized by divine order and justice. This doesn't diminish your importance or agency. Rather, it locates your freedom and responsibility within a larger framework of meaning and purpose. You matter immensely, your choices have eternal significance, and your life unfolds within a creation that is fundamentally ordered by divine wisdom and love. The transformative power of certainty. As you conclude this reflection, consider how the certainty offered by this surah might change your daily experience. What would it mean to live each day with deep conviction that your actions matter eternally, that justice will ultimately prevail, that divine mercy exceeds divine judgment, and that your deepest longings for meaning and connection reflect a Creator who has prepared gardens and grapeyards for those who choose to seek their place with Him? Surah An-Naba speaks with remarkable clarity to the challenges and questions of our modern world. While revealed over 14 centuries ago, its themes resonate deeply with contemporary human experience, offering guidance for navigating the complexities of 21st century life. The crisis of meaning in modern society. Today's world faces what many philosophers and psychologists call an existential crisis, widespread questioning of life's meaning and purpose. Mental health statistics reveal unprecedented levels of anxiety, depression, and suicide, often linked to feelings of purposelessness and disconnection. The surah's opening acknowledgement that people are asking about the great news mirrors our contemporary search for answers to fundamental questions. In a secular age that often reduces human existence to mere biological processes, the surah offers a compelling alternative narrative. Life has ultimate meaning because it's part of a divine plan with eternal consequences. Your struggles, choices, and relationships aren't random events in a meaningless universe, but significant chapters in a story that extends beyond physical death. The great news isn't just ancient theology, it's a direct response to modern nihilism and despair. For the many people today who feel their lives lack purpose, the surah proclaims that every choice matters eternally, every kindness is recorded, every act of justice contributes to a divine plan that will ultimately prevail. Environmental awareness and divine creation. The environmental crisis of our time gives new urgency to the surah's descriptions of divine creation. Climate change, deforestation, pollution, and species extinction represent humanity's failure to recognize the earth as the carefully prepared bed Allah describes. The mountains as pegs that stabilize continental plates, the precise water cycle that sustains life, the delicate atmospheric balance. All of these are being disrupted by human activity that fails to recognize creation as divine trust. The surah's invitation to see divine signs in natural phenomena offers a profound foundation for environmental stewardship. When rain becomes a sign of Allah's mercy rather than mere precipitation, when mountains become divine architecture rather than mere geological formations, our relationship to the natural world transforms from exploitation to reverence. Contemporary Muslim environmental movements draw heavily on Quranic teachings like those found in this surah, arguing that caring for creation is both spiritual obligation and practical necessity. The gardens and grapeyards of paradise serve as reminders that divine vision for humanity includes abundance within natural harmony, justice and accountability in an unjust world. Our contemporary world is marked by widespread injustice, economic inequality, political oppression, social discrimination, and systems that often seem to reward the corrupt while penalizing the honest. The surah's emphasis on divine justice speaks directly to these concerns, offering both comfort and challenge. For those who suffer injustice, the promise of exact recompense provides hope that temporary inequities will be corrected by perfect divine justice. The powerful who abuse their positions, the wealthy who ignore the poor, the systems that perpetuate oppression, all will face accountability before divine judgment that cannot be bribed, manipulated, or avoided. Simultaneously, the surah challenges believers to work for justice in this world while trusting in ultimate divine justice. The description of paradise as a place free from evil talk and lying serves as inspiration for creating communities characterized by truthfulness, integrity, and genuine care for others. Technology, and the question of ultimate reality. In an age of virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and digital communication, questions about the nature of reality have taken on new dimensions. The surah's description of the day of decision, when the mountains shall be as if they were a mirage, speaks to a generation familiar with the malleability of perceived reality. Yet rather than embracing relativism about truth, the surah insists on ultimate reality, the true day, when all illusions will be stripped away and authentic truth revealed. This offers a counterpoint to postmodern skepticism about objective truth, asserting that while human perspectives may vary, divine truth remains constant and will ultimately be vindicated. The image of angels standing in perfect order, speaking only truth, contrasts sharply with our current information environment of social media echo chambers, alternative facts, and deliberate misinformation. The surah envisions a reality where truth is not contested but universally acknowledged. Individual choice and social responsibility. Contemporary debates about personal freedom versus social obligation find profound treatment in this surah's balance between individual choice and divine sovereignty. The final invitation, "Whosoever wills, let him seek a place with his Lord," emphasizes genuine human agency and responsibility. This challenges both extremes of contemporary political thought. Against deterministic ideologies that deny individual responsibility, the surah insists that choices matter and have consequences. Against individualistic philosophies that ignore social and cosmic context, it places personal choice within a framework of divine justice and community accountability. The surah's vision of resurrection in crowds suggests that individual destiny is connected to community experience, while the personal nature of accountability, man will see that which his hands have sent forth, maintains individual responsibility, mental health and spiritual certainty. The contemporary mental health crisis often involves uncertainty, anxiety about the future, and lack of solid foundation for hope. The surah offers what psychologists might call existential anchoring, fixed points of reference that provide stability amid life's uncertainties. The repeated emphasis on certainty. They will come to know. The day of decision is a fixed time. That is, without doubt, the true day. Offers psychological benefits to those struggling with anxiety and despair. This isn't denial of legitimate concerns, but placement of temporary uncertainties within a framework of ultimate certainty about divine justice, mercy, and meaning. The description of paradise as a place of success, mafaza, speaks directly to contemporary desires for fulfillment and achievement. while reframing success in terms of spiritual, rather than merely material accomplishment. The true test of any spiritual study lies not in intellectual understanding alone, but in how divine guidance transforms our daily lives. Surah An-Naba offers practical wisdom that can reshape our perspectives, priorities, and practices. Let us explore specific ways to integrate these profound teachings into our contemporary lives, transforming daily routines into spiritual practice. Begin each morning by consciously recognizing the day as Allah's provision for livelihood. Before checking your phone or rushing into daily tasks, take a moment to acknowledge that the daylight enabling your activities is divine mercy made visible. This simple shift in perspective transforms routine morning activities into occasions for gratitude and remembrance. Similarly, when preparing for sleep, remember that Allah describes rest as divine provision, not merely biological necessity. Let this awareness bring peace to your evening routine. Instead of falling into bed exhausted and anxious, approach sleep as entering into Allah's care, trusting that He will restore and renew you through the night hours. When rain falls, pause to remember Allah's description of water as abundant provision that brings forth corn and vegetations and gardens of thick growth. Let the sound of rain become dhikr, remembrance, a natural call to recognize divine mercy cascading from heaven to earth. This practice transforms weather from mere inconvenience or pleasure into ongoing divine communication. Developing consciousness of accountability. The surah's emphasis that all things are recorded in a book invites us to develop what Islamic spirituality calls muraqabah, conscious awareness of divine observation. This isn't paranoid self-monitoring, but graceful recognition that our choices matter beyond their immediate consequences. Before making decisions how to respond to conflict, whether to help someone in need, what to prioritize with your time, pause briefly to remember that this choice will be part of what you see, which your hands have sent forth on the day of decision. This practice doesn't create anxiety but thoughtfulness, helping align momentary choices with eternal values. Develop the practice of evening reflection, reviewing your day, not with harsh self-judgment, but with honest assessment. Where did you choose kindness over indifference? When did you speak truth rather than convenient falsehood? How did you use the livelihood Allah provided through daylight? This isn't morbid introspection, but spiritual accounting that builds consciousness and facilitates growth. Cultivating environmental stewardship. Let the surah's descriptions of divine creation inspire practical environmental responsibility. When you see mountains, remember they are described as pegs that stabilize the earth. This can motivate support for conservation efforts and opposition to destructive mining or development practices. Make consumption choices that reflect recognition of the earth as Allah's carefully prepared bed. This might mean reducing waste, choosing sustainable products, or supporting renewable energy, not merely for environmental benefits, but as expressions of gratitude for divine provision and recognition of our role as trustees, Khalifa of creation. Create regular opportunities to observe natural phenomena with spiritual eyes. Spend time watching sunrise or sunset as manifestations of Allah's ordering of day and night for livelihood and rest. Let gardens and growing things remind you of divine mercy that brings life from apparent death. These practices cultivate both environmental awareness and spiritual sensitivity, building communities of truth and justice. The surah's description of paradise as a place free from evil talk and lying challenges us to create foretastes of that reality in our earthly communities. Commit to truthfulness in small daily interactions, accurate reporting of events, honest assessment of situations, authentic expression of thoughts and feelings rather than social performance. Challenge yourself to eliminate gossip, backbiting, and negative speech about others. When conversations turn toward criticism or complaint, gently redirect toward constructive solutions or grateful recognition of blessings. This practice creates environments that reflect the paradise described in the surah. Work actively for justice in your spheres of influence, motivated by belief in ultimate divine justice. This might involve supporting fair treatment in your workplace, advocating for marginalized community members, or using your resources to address inequality. The certainty that exact recompense will ultimately prevail provides both comfort for those suffering injustice and motivation for those capable of creating positive change. Preparing for eternal accountability. Develop regular practices that prepare you spiritually for the day of decision. This might include weekly self-examination, using the surah's themes. Am I living in recognition of divine signs in creation? Are my choices aligned with belief in ultimate accountability? How am I responding to the invitation to seek a place with my Lord? Create reminders of eternal perspective in your physical environment. Perhaps verses from this surah, written in beautiful calligraphy, natural objects that recall divine creation, or scheduled times for reflection on ultimate questions. These external cues help maintain internal awareness of eternal realities amid temporal concerns. Practice generosity and service as preparation for divine generosity. The surah's description of reward as ample calculated gift, according to the best of good deeds, suggests that Allah multiplies our good actions beyond their apparent value. Let this inspire sacrificial giving of time, resources, and attention to others' needs. Responding to the great news. Most fundamentally, let the great news of divine justice, mercy, and eternal meaning transform your relationship to daily challenges. When facing difficulties, remember that temporary struggles unfold within eternal context where justice will prevail and mercy will triumph. When experiencing joys, receive them as previews of the success awaiting those who seek their place with Allah. Share this great news through both words and actions. Let your life become testimony to the hope, purpose, and joy that come from believing that existence has ultimate meaning, that choices have eternal significance, and that divine love shapes the universe's final destiny. The surah concludes with individual choice. Whosoever wills, let him seek a place with his Lord. Every day, every moment, offers fresh opportunities to respond to this invitation through practices that align earthly life with eternal realities. There's something profoundly transformative about carrying divine words within your heart. When you memorize verses from Surah An-Naba, you're not just storing text, you're internalizing a worldview that can reshape how you experience every moment of your life. The opening questions, as life compass. What are they asking about? About the great news about which they are in disagreement. These opening verses become a lens through which to view contemporary debates and discussions. In our age of information overload and competing narratives, these verses remind us that humanity's deepest questions remain constant across centuries. The great news of divine justice, resurrection, and accountability cuts through the noise of temporary concerns to address what ultimately matters. When these verses live in your memory, they surface during moments of confusion or overwhelm. In the middle of heated political discussions or social media debates, you might find yourself remembering, nay, they will come to know. This isn't smugness, but patient confidence that truth will ultimately prevail. regardless of current confusion or disagreement. Creation verses as daily meditation. The section describing Allah's signs in creation becomes a different experience when memorized. Have we not made the earth as a bed, and the mountains as pegs? These aren't just poetic descriptions, they become meditation guides that transform ordinary observations into spiritual experiences. Walking outside after memorizing these verses, you begin to see with different eyes. The earth beneath your feet isn't just dirt and rock, but a carefully prepared foundation for life. Mountains aren't just geological features but divine architecture stabilizing the planet. Rain isn't just weather but abundant water sent from above to produce corn and vegetations and gardens of thick growth. This shift in perception has practical effects. Environmental concerns become spiritual obligations. Conservation efforts feel like protecting sacred trust. Even daily gardening or appreciating natural beauty takes on deeper significance when filtered through memorized descriptions of divine creation. The day of decision as present reality. Verily, the day of decision is a fixed time, the day when the trumpet will be blown, and you shall come forth in crowds. Having these verses in memory creates what spiritual teachers call eternal perspective. The ability to see present choices in light of ultimate consequences. This doesn't create anxiety but clarity. When facing difficult decisions, memorized verses about accountability naturally surface. Man will see that which his hands have sent forth. This creates a natural pause, a moment of reflection that helps align immediate choices with long-term values. The image of resurrection in crowds becomes particularly meaningful in our individualistic age. Your personal salvation is connected to community. Your choices affect others. Your destiny unfolds alongside millions of other human stories. This creates both humility and responsibility. Justice verses as comfort and challenge. The descriptions of divine justice serve dual purposes in memory. For those experiencing injustice, verses like an exact recompense according to their evil crimes provide comfort. The assurance that temporary wrongs will be ultimately corrected. For those in positions of power or privilege, these same verses create healthy accountability. All things we have recorded in a book becomes particularly powerful when memorized. This verse surfaces during moments of moral choice, especially when no one is watching. It's not paranoid surveillance but gracious reminder that choices matter, that integrity in small things reflects character, that divine justice is both perfectly informed and perfectly fair. Paradise descriptions as hope and motivation. Verily, for the righteous, there will be success. Gardens and grapeyards. These verses, when memorized, become sources of hope during difficult times. The word success mafaza encompasses not just happiness but achievement of life's ultimate purpose. More subtly, the description of paradise as a place where they hear no evil talk or lying shapes how you participate in earthly conversations. Communities where gossip, backbiting, and dishonesty are absent become previews of divine promise. This motivates creating such environments rather than simply enduring their absence. The final choice as daily reality. Whosoever wills, let him seek a place with his Lord. These concluding words transform from theological statement to daily invitation when carried in memory. Every morning becomes an opportunity to respond anew to this invitation. Every choice becomes a small step toward or away from seeking a place with your Lord. The final cry, "Mithful would that I were dust," serves as powerful prevention rather than mere warning. When contemplating choices that compromise integrity or harm others, This verse naturally surfaces as reminder of ultimate consequences, not fear-based compliance but wisdom-based decision-making, integration beyond memorization. The real fruit of memorizing these verses appears in unexpected moments. During illness, verses about divine care for creation bring comfort. During success, verses about accountability prevent arrogance. During injustice, verses about divine justice provide patience. During beauty, verses about paradise create gratitude. These memorized passages become internal compass, spiritual GPS, and emotional anchor. They connect personal experience to cosmic reality, temporary struggles to eternal meaning, individual choices to divine plan. In a fragmented age, they provide integration, reminding us that all of life unfolds within divine purpose and care. The verses you memorize today become resources you'll draw upon for years. During times of grief, celebration, confusion, or clarity, these divine words resurface to provide guidance, comfort, and perspective that only comes from carrying eternal wisdom within your heart. As our journey through Surah An-Naba draws to a close, we find ourselves not at an ending but at a beginning. The great news that sparked ancient debates in the streets of Makkah has now become personal revelation, speaking directly to the questions and longings of your own heart. The transformation of questions. We began with people asking questions, skeptical voices demanding to know about this great news that disrupted their comfortable assumptions about life and death. Perhaps you came to this study with your own questions. What happens after death? Do my choices really matter? Is there ultimate justice in the universe? How should I live in light of eternity? Through 40 verses of divine guidance, these questions haven't been merely answered, they've been transformed. The questioning skeptics of ancient Makkah discovered that their very ability to question pointed toward a creator who had given them minds capable of seeking truth. Similarly, your questions about meaning and purpose aren't signs of weakness or doubt, but evidence of a soul created for eternal relationship with Allah. The surah's patient response to human questioning reflects Allah's mercy towards seekers. The repeated nay, they will come to know, isn't threat but promise, assurance that truth will ultimately become clear to sincere hearts. Your spiritual journey, with its moments of certainty and confusion, unfolds within this divine patience. Living the great news. The great news is no longer abstract theology but practical reality that reshapes everything. When you wake tomorrow morning, the daylight that greets you isn't just photons from a distant star, but divine provision for livelihood. Is Allah arranging the very conditions that make your work, relationships, and growth possible? When you encounter natural beauty, a sunset, mountain vista, or gentle rain, these become ayat signs calling you to recognition and gratitude. The earth beneath your feet is a bed prepared by divine love. The mountains are pegs revealing Allah's architectural wisdom. The water cycle is abundant provision, cascading from heaven to sustain all life. More profoundly, your choices now carry eternal weight. The kindness you show to strangers, the integrity you maintain when no one is watching, the justice you support despite personal cost. These aren't just moral preferences but contributions to an eternal record that will be revealed on the day of decision. Integration with daily life. This study transforms ordinary moments into spiritual opportunities. Evening rest becomes conscious entry into Allah's care, trusting the one who made sleep for rest to restore and renew you. Morning awakening becomes grateful response to the one who made the day for livelihood. Approaching daily tasks as opportunities to use divine provision wisely. Conversations with others take on new significance when you remember paradise as a place free from evil talk and lying. Creating environments characterized by truthfulness, encouragement, and genuine care becomes both spiritual practice and preview of eternal community. Facing difficulties and injustices, you're sustained by certainty that all things are recorded in a book, and that exact recompense awaits both oppressor and oppressed. This doesn't breed passivity, but patient activism, working for justice while trusting in ultimate divine justice. The urgency of choice. The surah's conclusion pulses with urgent invitation. That is without doubt the true day. So whosoever wills, let him seek a place with his Lord. This isn't distant future possibility, but immediate present choice. Every decision becomes opportunity to respond to this invitation. Seeking a place with your Lord might mean deepening your prayer life, increasing your service to others, studying the Qur'an more regularly, or examining relationships and priorities in light of eternal values. The beauty of this invitation is that it meets you exactly where you are, whatever your background or current circumstances. Carrying light forward, you've now encountered divine guidance that has sustained millions of believers across 14 centuries. These verses comforted the early Muslim community during persecution in Mecca, strengthened believers through centuries of triumph and trial, and continue offering hope and direction to contemporary seekers worldwide. As you carry this surah's guidance forward, you become part of this living tradition. Your own spiritual growth, inspired by these verses, contributes to the ongoing testimony that divine revelation transforms lives and communities. The great news that changed ancient Mecca continues changing hearts today. The continuing journey, this study concludes, but your relationship with these verses continues deepening. The meanings that touched your heart today will unfold in new ways as you face future challenges and growth. Verses that provided comfort during difficulty will later offer guidance during success. Descriptions of divine justice will both humble and encourage you through changing circumstances. Return to this surah regularly, not as academic exercise, but as spiritual nourishment. Let its opening questions remind you that seeking truth is noble endeavor. Its creation signs help you see Allah's care in daily life. Its descriptions of divine justice provide both warning and hope, and its final invitation continue drawing you toward deeper relationship with your Creator. May Allah sip your sincere study, bless your understanding, and make these divine words a source of guidance, comfort, and strength throughout your journey back to Him. May the great news of divine love, justice, and eternal purpose continue transforming your heart and illuminating your path. Amen. Alhamdulillah, for this time together with the Qur'an. May these verses bring you calm and deeper understanding. Before you go, remember to subscribe and click the bell so you never miss a new reading. And share this session with someone who needs a moment of peace today.